Your son disfigured my podcast.
It's Carnage week on Boy Party. It's our 25th episode, and we're celebrating by talking John C. Reilly, Jodie Foster, Christoph Waltz, and Kate Winslet in Roman Polanski's 2011 Carnage. All right, let's go. It's Boy Party. I know that this is Welcome to Boy Party, the podcast about movies where two or more major stars share the screen and battled it out for berry cobbler, peach cobbler.
No, it was apple and pear.
Apple and pear battled it out over their son's schoolyard fights.
Words in a letter.
Phones getting thrown into vases of water.
Who gets a drink and who doesn't? Who can smoke a cigar in the house?
Yeah, and whether
where to vomit, obviously.
Where to vomit.
Yeah. You can tell I paid more attention to this yesterday than you
It's
did.
Carnage. Carnage in the studio. Carnage is the movie. Not to be confused with Venom. Let there be carnage.
No.
I did bring this up to somebody today, and they said, "Oh, Venom, Let There Be Carnage." And I said, "No, Carnage." Famously based on the play God of Carnage, Roman Polanski's 2011 adaptation, starring four major names: Academy Award nominee John C. Reilly, Academy Award winner Kate Winslet, Academy Award winner Christoph Waltz, and Academy Award winner Jodie Foster. Poor John C. Reilly.
Poor John C. Reilly.
Academy Award nominee.
Ugh, pathetic.
Golden Globe
Get out
nominee.
Barely even a boy party.
I have spent time with John C. Reilly in the past 13 months, which I'll get to. Never met any of these other people. Would love to meet Christoph Waltz. I think he's a fascinating guy. Seems like a bit of a dickhead in real life, which
Really?
I think comes across. He's just like a Bill Maher guy.
Oh, okay.
He's a Bill Maher, like, free speech is
The kids are
out the
annoying
window.
kind of thing.
Kids are annoying. Woke culture is bad guy.
Yeah.
Like a stern Austrian man. I mean, you'd be very surprised if he was anything else. Like,
Yeah,
look, the
honestly.
guy has spent a great deal of the last 10 years working with Roman Polanski, Woody Allen,
Quentin
Tarantino. Like, his taste in Terry Gilliam, his taste in filmmakers leans towards the more
Grumpy old man.
grumpy old men that aren't necessarily the best people. So he maybe, has a certain affinity for those types of guys, but he's fantastic in this film. We're discussing this movie because I think it's great crack altogether. I've watched it twice now in the last 12 months. I had seen it once or twice before as well. It's gone from a 1-star to a 2-star to a 4-star in my estimation. Genuinely, I had this on my list of the worst films of 2011 at the end of that year. I then watched it about a year ago and gave it 2 stars, and I watched it last night and was like, wait, I love this, and I've always loved this, and I had a great desire to watch it again. There's a reason for that. It's not terrible. It's just
Is that in part
effective
you
nonsense.
growing into being an adult and realizing that this is the most excitement you can have, having a
Maybe.
conversation with 3 other adults?
Yes, maybe. I mean, I find this absolutely riveting.
Same, I love it.
And it's interesting that I find it so exciting, as somebody pointed out to me today, because I don't like theater. And I don't like theatrical staging like this film has, typically in films. I normally find films that are staged like plays to be very frustrating. The Whale, maybe an example. Of course, Closer, which we discussed just 2 or 3 weeks ago on the show. Those are films that are staged like plays that I find to be a tough watch. And I find Carnage the complete opposite. I think it's thrilling and moves so quickly, and everybody gets
it
their
absolutely
moments.
flies. It's like watching an
it's-
episode of TV.
Yeah, weird to me that it's weird to me that it kind of for me seems to break that trend of not liking stagey theatrical films. It might be the actors, it might be the situation that's set up, but if you told me that every modern play was like God of Carnage, I'd probably be more interested in going to the theater.
I don't know, I think this compared to like Closer is that this kind of at its heart is a comedy.
Yeah,
And
true.
it's very much
It's
meant
a
to be.
farce. Like there's vomit and there's phones being thrown in water, and
Screeching and there's hysterics.
It's hysterical, and it's full of crazy hysterical comedic moments, and probably has slightly more in common with Barefoot in the Park.
A little
in
bit,
that
I
sense.
think so.
Which was
it's more
stagey, which
sitcom-y.
is, of course, the theatrical adaptation as well, and we commented on is stagey. So we're building an interesting over here of movies with massive, boy party star collaborations that are of that nature, because they are based on plays where you only have space on stage for 2 or 4 big actors.
Yeah, I think this takes advantage in more subtle ways of the fact that it is a film compared to a stage, and it does do kind of some quite interesting things with the camera. Like
It does. I mean,
it
it's
moves
directed
around,
by-
it zips around, like it moves. There's a bit of shakiness to it. It's not completely stationary like other play adaptations
I think
could be.
you could have gotten a really dull version of this if it was directed by somebody who was coming from a theater background.
Yeah.
I think even someone of a Sam Mendes variety who is used to putting on plays and coming at this would be able to would really struggle to make it seem interesting. But Polanski is like an incredibly experienced filmmaker and understands the rules of cinema very well, so he's able to project that onto it in an exciting way. So this is an adaptation of a play that was originally written in French, Le Doux du Carnage by Yasmina Reza. Now, surprising to me that this was written by a female playwright, because as we discussed watching it, it feels like slightly heightened and cartoonish depictions of the female characters maybe dominate the latter half of the film. But I guess you could also say that the male characters are stereotypes of stupid, selfish men. I don't know.
Yeah. Is this our problem? This
might be our problem.
Yeah.
We found that the Jodie Foster character especially gets so hysterical in a certain kind of screechy way that the other characters don't, that it just kind of turns into
it's a bit pitiful. Like it's kind of
it turns into like almost like a YouTube thumbnail of, you know, woke feminist gets owned by
a little bit
by men's rights activists.
That's kind
like
of
the way Christoph Waltz talks down to her about her politics and her ethics is so the film obviously thinks he's an asshole, but it's so like.
But I don't think the film agrees with her
rules.
either, and her whole background of working, studying African cultures, and
she's a sanctimonious Hillary Clinton supporter. You know, she's like an annoying.
She'd support Elizabeth Warren.
Maybe she's an annoying white centrist Democrat, but like the other couple are clearly like horrible right-wing people, and my sympathies shifted back towards Jodie Foster at the end the second that Kate Winslet started calling their son homophobic slurs.
Yes.
At which point you realize that these are just much nastier people, the other couple.
I don't know, maybe that's a deliberate contrast, because by far the worst character is Christoph Waltz when you look into his line of work and what his...
Yes, he's the one who's destroying the planet the most out of these four.
Yes.
While
killing the most people.
Jodie Foster is annoying, but she's a harmless, annoying academic woke person versus someone who is literally like he's an arbiter of death and destruction in the pharmaceutical poison industry, basically. So the original play was first published in 2008, and it is set in France, but it was adapted very quickly to English by Christopher Hampton, who is somebody I have dealt with by email. Very nice man. The, of course, writer of Dangerous Liaisons and Atonement and The Father. And it was first performed on the West End in 2008. So literally immediately gets translated to English, immediately gets staged in the West End. Starring in that first West End production was Rafe Fiennes as Alan, the Christoph Waltz character, Tamsin Gregg as Annette, Ken Stott as Michael, and Jana McTeer as Veronica. Then 1 year later, opens on Broadway with 4 very, very fun names.
Like if these 4 names were in the film version, we'd still be doing a boy party.
Oh, for sure, and it would be a 5-star classic.
Yes.
Jeff Daniels as Alan, Hope Davis as Annette. That's the Winslet character. James Gandolfini as the John C. Reilly character, and then Marcia Gay Harden as the Jodie Foster character. Now, the one of those that makes the least sense to us is the Marcia Gay Harden, because she's a very different type of actor to Jodie Foster.
Yeah.
She, in everything we've seen her in, which is the sort of like Aaron Sorkin-y things she pops up in.
She's always the cool, collected, legal mind.
Yeah, she's either a lawyer or a journalist in seemingly everything.
She's always the character that's just detached from the hysterics of like the media industry she's been roped into.
Yeah. She's kind of getting everyone else to calm down.
Yeah.
So the idea of her being the most hysterical character is odd, but she wins the Tony for this original run. All the 4 actors were nominated for Tonys, and she wins Best Leading Actress in a Play. It was the 3rd longest running play of the 2000s, and was a huge hit. And then they replaced some of the actors in it with people like Christine Lahti, Jimmy Smits, Annie Potts, Dylan Baker, Lucy Liu, So it was a huge hit. I remember hearing about it. I remember the only two American plays of the 2000s that I ever heard about were August Osage County and Carnage. They both got turned into films, and they both had won loads of Tonys and all that.
This honestly, they should just remake this film every year with the 4 biggest stars of that year.
Yeah,
I think it's a perfect vehicle for people I like.
When they did a French production, it was Isabelle Huppert played. I don't know who these characters are, but she played Véronique. André Masson played Michel Houilly. Okay, so that must be the Foster and Gandolfini, and then I'm getting all mixed up here. But gets turned into a film in 2011 by Roman Polanski. Now, the film is very much set in New York. They're in Brooklyn. They're talking about Brooklyn Bridge Park, all of this. The film was shot in Paris because of, according to Wikipedia, of Roman Polanski's fugitive status in the United States.
Yeah.
I did a bit of reading today about Roman Polanski's criminal record. Not that I needed to be particularly, to get more informed on it, but Roman Polanski is a terrible, awful criminal. I have no hesitation in saying that he cannot go to the United States anymore. There was a sort of a
warrant out for him.
Well, there was sort of like a sting operation. I don't know what you'd call it on him in the late 2000s, early 2010s, where he was tricked into being arrested basically on his way to a film festival.
Oh yeah.
He was then.
This is what the letter was about.
Yeah. Then the whole of Hollywood basically rallied around him. Every director that you and I like came to his defense. David Lynch, Wes Anderson, everyone that you would think would know better. There was this big sense, I guess, aside from Roman Polanski is a great filmmaker, and that's more important than the fact that he did all these terrible things, which is of course ridiculous. But I guess the other thing was that people really didn't like that he was tricked and he was caught in the context of being celebrated in the film community. I guess that people felt like that was just like crossing a line in terms of like film festivals and celebrations.
Yeah, don't take advantage of it for the sake of.
I think it matters. Like I don't personally care. So anyway, that's all I'll say about him. He, it's telling that these 4 actors wanted to make a Roman Polanski movie. It's telling that any actor wants to work with Roman Polanski. I think the Roman Polanski situation has been sewn up for many decades as to what he's like and what he's done. So, that reflects on their 4 personalities in different ways. But that's all we need to say about it. So it was
honestly a guy I'm surprised is not dead.
Yeah, it is weird he's not dead. He's a Holocaust survivor. He's a survivor of Stalinism, said his lawyer. He is 90 years old now.
Okay.
So he was 70, 77, 78 when this was made. A lively film for a 78-year-old. Of course, famously married to Sharon Tate, who we previously discussed on this podcast.
Yeah, sure, he would have come up in
He's in that film.
Our first episode.
And he is his Wikipedia bio with all his date of birth and stuff has capture status, fugitive, U.S. only. It is crazy to just be a fugitive. So a guy who has played a role all throughout film history, and Carnage is kind of his last film with stars in it, you could argue. Like, he's worked since in other languages. He did a film version of Venus and Fur, which was another huge play. And then he's done one more English language film, which he did last year, called The Palace, which had Mickey Rourke and John Cleese. 2 just absolute fucking cretins of different ilks, but different types of cretins.
Yeah.
And would you believe the film's release and promotion were impacted by the abuse controversy surrounding Roman Polanski? I never would have thought that. Carnage, of course, released in a time where no one gave a shit 13 years ago. So no one brought it up. But it was an independent film. It was produced by a whole bunch of different producers, and it was released by distributors that are not. It was not a studio film. I thought it had been, but it was released by SBS Productions, like a made-up distributor. So this film had a budget. You asked me last night, what do I think the budget was? I think I guessed something like 12.
You said 12
The budget of this film was $25 million. That is insane. It is all set in one room. So my guess has to be the salaries were way higher than they could have been. Like,
were they getting 3
Are we
each?
talking 3 each? What's that? That would be $12 million for the stars. I guess so. I wonder, does John C. Reilly get paid less because he doesn't have an Oscar? Do you think he's the most replaceable in here?
A little bit.
If you consider, I think Christoph Waltz in 2024 is a more replaceable actor than John C. Reilly. But he was 2-3 years off of his first Oscar, a year ahead of his second Oscar. I think he's I think John C. Reilly here you can swap out for basically. I mean, James Gandolfini was still alive.
Yeah. I don't know. You're getting into replaceable here, and is this kind of more? Is this just a proxy for worst performance?
No, because Jodie Foster's the worst performance. I guess I'm thinking more in terms of like gravitas and stardom. You know?
Yes. Okay.
I think Jodie Foster is like the kind of two-time Oscar-winning big name you want in your Carnage movie.
I agree.
If you can't get Meryl Streep and you can't get Julianne Moore, you get Jodie Foster. So I'm sort of like, if you work down the way, John C. Reilly's the one where you
think there were 2 or 3 guys ahead of him on the
possibly, yeah. Impossible to find out who those people would have been.
Yeah.
It's interesting that these 4 are considered to be more movie friendly than the 4 in the Broadway production, which I guess I would agree is true. Although James Gandolfini was in lots of films, but James Gandolfini's film career did kind of amount to being like the 5th guy in Incredible Burt Wonderstone, which is crazy considering he's a big TV star. Yeah. But I guess the same is true of people like Bob Odenkirk, you know, and John Hamm and Bryan Cranston. I mean, these are not guys you'd necessarily put in the lead role in an Oscar bait film.
Bryan Cranston could have been in this.
Bryan Cranston could have definitely been in this. He could have played that role, the John C. role. I think he would have been very good. He would have been very good. You want someone for that who has the appearance of... So we should quickly say the characters. Well, we kind of have. No, we have. The John C. character kind of has the appearance of a schlubby dad who likes to keep the peace, and he likes baseball and cigars, right?
Yeah.
But he's actually just kind of... He's
just a bit...
His intentions are a bit more cynical than that, I suppose. A bit more.
He's just like, everyone calm down. Let's avoid any sort of conflict at all here. Kind of
like his conflict aversion is actually so extreme that it is pathetic and it causes problems here. Whereas Christoph Waltz isn't conflict averse. He just thinks it's not going to lead to anything because everyone inherently doesn't like each other.
Yeah, he's thought it through, and it's just like
it's a toxic situation, and he's the smartest of the 4. And the fact that he's the most tuned in to how the audience feels, I guess, about the pointlessness of it, makes his character sort of the most, if not the most likable, the most relatable. Which in turn... Also,
the other fact about Christoph Waltz and his relatability is the fact that he's just like can't stop eating the cobbler.
Yes, he's on it. He likes his phone and he likes eating cobbler. Those are things. Yes, exactly. He's a big fan of treats.
He can't stop checking his phone, and he's about to leave like 3 separate times, and they're like twice he's invited back in for coffee, and then he's invited back in for more pie.
Yes, please.
And he's like, he just kind of purses his lips, like, okay, I'll take more.
So the twist is that he is covering up or involved in some scandal involving some dodgy drugs that have been sold. And
he's defending a pharmaceutical company in a law case where their drugs
dodgy side effects.
Yeah, dodgy side effects.
John C. Reilly is on the phone to his elderly mother, who is like, "Oh, Michael, I'm taking these pills." And of course, it turns out very quickly that the pills she's taking are the toxic Christoph Waltz medication. And he's like, "Mom, stop taking those pills straight away. I said so." And so that becomes a whole thing. Which is a really fun, silly twist that like most writers wouldn't think to put in.
It doesn't at all take over the film.
No.
You'd imagine something that severe would, but they immediately get back to just like, actually no, Jodie Foster's being really annoying.
I think if a movie's all set in one room, it's fun. Glengarry Glen Ross and Margin Call and stuff like that kind of does this, where if there's a conflict happening in an enclosed space,
have
something happening outside that they have to check in with over the phone.
Yeah.
Because it makes you feel like there's...
And you jump every time the phone rings.
Yeah, exactly. Because you know there's going to be new information coming in. So it's a really good way of keeping things.
No, it's very
exciting. The film is basically just the 4 of them arguing because one of them hit one of the kids hit the other kid with a stick, and
it kind of revolves where 2 at a time are kind of pairing up against 2 others at any given time. Where
so there's a lot of like, you think, you know, that one couple will be fighting the other couple, but often
it pivots around the guys being together. It kind of...
Because the guys, you know, will have their moment of, the women are so hysterical. And then the women have their brilliant moment of, these guys are getting so sad about the phone getting dropped in the water.
Yeah.
And Christoph Waltz is like,
they're like, boy.
My things are on there. I spent all day setting it up. And the boys are freaking out about a phone. And then the women are freaking about other things. And then there's bits where the husbands and wives are accusing their respective partners of not defending them, not standing up for them.
They gang up on Jodie Foster at one point. They gang up on Kate Winslet because she pukes everywhere.
Yes. Then her and Waltz sneak off to the bathroom to clean off the puke, and they're talking about how much they hate the other couple. Then the other couple start making fun of their nickname, All these different things are going on. So it's like Closer in that it tries out every combination, I guess, to see which one works the best, but it's constantly moving. It doesn't have that rigid problem Closer has where you're like, and now we're going to spend 20 minutes with these two.
It's completely different.
Completely fluid. Like, I can't pinpoint for you when each two are together because it's so fluid. It's constantly bouncing. Yeah. And it's a really, really lively, dramatic exercise.
There's no real break. There's no defined breaks or acts in it. It kind of just...
Like, there's phone call. There's things that punctuate it, like phone calls, like the going to the bathroom to clean up the vomit. All these different things, but there's never it never really stops. It just sort of weaves it.
One dynamic flows into the next.
It's really well constructed. And I think Polanski does a terrific job. I like is the perfect person to direct it. Unfortunately, I'm also realizing here that the cinematographer Paweł Edelman was on a take at work for me, and I dealt with him over email as well. So nice, three connections here: him, Hampton, and John C. Reilly. So John C. Reilly is our first time we're covering him on the podcast. Is a lovely man who I've dealt with at work. Did an event for us last year at work and spent some time with him, and he was very nice. He loves Ireland. He's I don't know, second, third generation Irish, and he loves spending time here. And comes like fully decked out in the paddy cap and stuff, and he loves the look. It's really funny. He is an interesting star in that he is obviously known by most as a comedy guy from Step Brothers and from all this sort of thing, but his dramatic career probably has more, like, there's a lot
he's incredibly respectable for a guy who could have so easily just got pigeonholed as like the third guy in every comedy film, and then he made such an effort to branch out, and he's in Magnolia.
He's in far more good dramas than he is in good comedies. Like, so some of his filmography, all the Paul Thomas Anderson films that he's in Hard Eight, he's in Boogie Nights, he's in Magnolia, where she's fantastic in as Jim, the police officer. He is in is that all of the PTA movies he's in? Yeah, I guess. Oh, he pops up in Licorice Pizza for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
He then is in The Thin Red Line. He's in For Love of the Game. He's in Gangs of New York. He's in Chicago, for which he gets his one Oscar nomination. That year, he is in 3 of the 5 Best Picture nominees: Gangs of New York, Chicago, and After Hours. And then he's in The Aviator, again with Scorsese. He's in Altman's Prairie Home Companion. He's in we talk about Kevin with Tilda Swinton. He's in I'm gonna stop saying the words he's in. He also appears in The Lobster and The Sisters Brothers and Holmes and Watson. No, Stan and Ollie. Holmes and Watson I'll ignore. And then of course does Winning Time on TV. But sprinkled in between all of those, he's in the Tim and Eric movie. He's in Step Brothers. Guardians of the Galaxy for some reason. The Dictator. Talladega Nights. Cirque du Freak, the vampire's assistant. So random that he was cast in the Star Chat adaptation.
Irish authors.
Yeah, so like just a weird career of bouncing between kind of like stupid roles in stupid comedies and highly respectable dramas. Sort of the perfect actor counterpart to Adam McKay in how his career has worked out. In the kind of, I'm going to do Step Brothers and Anchorman, and then I'm going to do all these political movies, perfect career. Kind of a shame he hasn't, had more award success, I would say. But then also he's obviously bought a lovely second house with the money from Wreck-It Ralph, because he is a Disney character and a kind of an irreplaceable Disney voice actor, I would say. Like Amy Poehler in Inside Out. You would pay him the $5 million to do another Wreck-It Ralph rather than cast somebody else. His voice is key to that success of that film. So this is a funny one for him to be in. Obviously, it's good casting. And is he the best performance in it? I don't think so, but it's fun that he's there. Mm-hmm. Best performance, as we said, is Christoph Waltz. Christoph Waltz not really boy party friendly and other stuff, so might give him a bit more of a focus.
Really?
He's kind of a supporting actor mostly, I'd say.
You don't consider him to be you wouldn't consider Django to be a boy party?
I think the fact that he's winning the supporting actor Oscar there, like Django is the name of another character. Like Django is kind of a boy party, but I don't ever want to do it on the podcast.
Sure, like so, is it not the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood problem again?
Sure, but it's I guess. I mean, if the poster for Django is to be believed, it's a boy party of Fox, Waltz, and DiCaprio.
Yeah.
But Christoph Waltz, anyway, is, of course, an Austrian actor, and everybody finds out who he is from Inglourious Basterds. There really seems to be nobody who knew who he was before that outside of Austria, which is interesting. Just a real case of someone being plucked from foreign films into Hollywood and suddenly off to the races. He wins the Oscar that year, and the next movie he's in is The Green Hornet with Seth Rogen, which is terrible.
Yes.
Then he's in Water for Elephants that same year, and then that same year he's also in Carnage. Those are his 3 follow-ups to Inglourious Bastards. So you could see why he would immediately want to work with Tarantino again, because no one else is offering him good roles. So he wins another Oscar straight away for Django Unchained, which is absolutely ridiculous. But in fairness, it was a weak category that year. Nomination wise, it was okay. It was Hoffman in The Master, but it was also like Tommy Lee Jones in Lincoln, De Niro in Silver Linings Playbook. It wasn't the most riveting bunch of guys. Then he is in a couple of weird things like Terry Gilliam's Zero Theorem and stuff that nobody sees. And then he gets cast, very obvious, as a Bond villain, and he's in Spectre, and he's in No Time to Die. He plays the villain in The Legend of Tarzan. He's in Tulip Fever, Downsizing. He is fantastic in Alita Battle Angel, where he plays a nice person for once.
Yeah.
He's so good when he plays characters that aren't purely villainous, like Carnage. And in Alita Battle Angel, he plays like the kindly inventor who finds Alita builds her out of scrap, and he's lovely in that. He is in a Quibi series called Most Dangerous Game, which in fact was his first Emmy nomination. And then he is in an Amazon show called The Consultant last year, which I watched all of, where he plays a scary consultant who comes in to fix a video game company after the CEO gets shot dead by a small child. It is a fun show with him and Nat Wolff that I quite enjoyed. That is Christoph Waltz's career. Hooray!
I feel like he's going to show up in Billions at some point.
Yeah, maybe. He also was in The French Dispatch very briefly, and was very, very, very good as the villain in Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, where he plays like the evil circus master guy, and he's great in that. And he sings, and he's really good. So I'm a fan of his, even though he's like very much like a late 2000s, like, I don't know, he's a symbol of like Dark Knight Joker-ism. Men thought this guy was class, and it's kind of hard to root for him now because he represents a sort of a like
he's not someone you speak about overly positively in your day-to-day, but going through his films there, you seem pretty high on him.
Yeah, I guess there aren't that many films. Most of them are good. Yeah. He's not making lots of rubbish. That's the thing. He doesn't work often enough to make rubbish. I guess I just don't like him in Django that much. That Oscar nomination, that Oscar win is frustrating. Yeah, because it's not particularly deserved, and as a result, I think poorly of him, even though he doesn't really deserve it. As for the 2 women in this film, Jodie Foster is somebody I don't have a whole lot of thoughts on. I'm not a big fan of hers. She, of course, is also a pretty prolific director these days. She recently got an Oscar nomination for Naiad, which is so random. Like, it really feels like somebody who is nowhere near being at the peak of her powers as an actress and just kind of randomly gets an Oscar nomination. She has like 2024
several.
She has 2 Oscars. Yeah, which is silly. I think once you get 2, you're kind of just, it's a bit silly. You're kind of never that far away from another one. Sure, she got. You see, the problem is that she won for The Accused in 1989, which is a movie I literally have never heard of. And then she wins for The Silence of the Lambs 3 years later, because she's fantastic in The Silence of the Lambs, and there's no reason to deny her one in The Silence of the Lambs. But it's a real, like, Frances McDormand, 3 Billboards, Nomadland. We're like, well, the second one is so good. Why did we give you the first one? Taxi Driver, she gets nominated in 1977 when she's a teenager. She is the first... now, what is this? She's the first openly gay woman to win 2 Oscars for acting. But was she not the first openly gay woman to win a first Oscar for acting? I guess she wasn't. Also, how many women have won 2 Oscars for acting? Like 4, I guess. Yeah. So I don't know, funny, 3 or 4 statistic there. But anyway, she was nominated for Golden Globe for Carnage, as was Kate Winslet. The women were nominated, the men were not. Oh, which is interesting. I would like to have a look at the other nominees in that category. So the Golden Globe Awards in 2011. Let me see. How fast can I pull this one up? So the nominees in 2000, and this is the awards that took place at the start of 2012, and the nominees for lead actress in a comedy were Michelle Williams in My Week with Marlon, who wins, Jodie Foster and Kate Winslet in Carnage, Charlize Theron in Young Adult, and Kristen Wiig in Bridesmaids. Well, I would say these are the least deserving of those 5. I mean, Kristen Wiig in Bridesmaids, to me, would have been the winner there.
Mm-hmm.
And Charlize Theron is great in Young Adult. Brendan Gleeson got a Golden Globe nomination that year for The Guard. Random. Listen to this for a random bunch. Dujardin wins for The Artist. Boring. Brendan Gleeson, Joseph Gordon-Levitt in 50-50, Ryan Gosling in Crazy Stupid Love, and Owen Wilson in Midnight in Paris. What a random bunch of 5. Weird to think that Brendan Gleeson and Joseph Gordon-Levitt were like, and Gosling were all nominated for Golden Globe.
Yeah. I didn't think The Guard had that much international.
Me neither, but I guess
recognition.
it did. Yeah, I guess it did.
Don Cheadle factor.
Yeah. So that's Jodie Foster. I think Kate Winslet. We have other Kate Winslet movies we can talk about. I don't have a whole lot to say about her in this movie. I think she's probably the least memorable of the 4 in this.
She's kind of the least to do.
Yeah, she's just kind of doing her American accent thing. I always like her when she's playing American. I like her.
But I do like her in this because like we've identified other weak points, and if she's not there keeping things going,
yes,
it surely the whole thing collapses.
Yeah, she's a good anchor for it.
Very good anchor. Yeah.
You said yesterday to me that you didn't know what Kate Winslet looked like.
No, I've no.
Have you not seen Titanic?
Bits and pieces.
It's weird. You have seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yeah.
Interesting. She is the star of two of the 3 highest grossing films of all time, because she's in Titanic and she's in Avatar: The Way of Water.
Yeah.
Which you'd forget.
I didn't recognize her in that either.
Fair. I think she's great.
I like
it. Not overrated at all, in my opinion.
I do have a bit of a blind spot.
Sure.
For those Australian actresses.
Kate Winslet is not Australian. She is English.
You said the Australians yesterday when I was talking about.
Because you were talking about other Australians.
Sorry, the Australian, the blonde.
You were saying you were like the blonde Kates, such as Nicole Kidman.
Yes.
Nicole Kidman could easily be in this.
Nicole Kidman is a blonde woman named Kate.
Nicole Kidman would be pretty good as the Jodie Foster character.
And Tom Cruise as Christoph Waltz.
And Sidney Pollack as John C. Reilly. And Todd Field as Kate Winslet. Yeah, perfect. We got ourselves a movie.
We should get Stanley Kubrick to direct it.
Exactly. Anything else to say about Carnage? Well, let's have a look at the box office of the 4 stars. Do you want to? So, okay, Kate Winslet, we've already spoiled that. She's definitely got the highest box office.
Does she?
Because she's in Titanic and Avatar: The Way of Water.
And that alone will
absolutely
the Wreck-It Ralphs don't even begin to make
let's have a look. Kate Winslet's total worldwide box office.
So what? That brings you up to 4 automatically.
Her is 6.7 billion.
Okay.
Jodie Foster's is 2.1 billion.
Yeah.
Christoph Waltz's is 4.2.
Okay.
And John C. Reilly's is 5.6.
Okay, he's not that far off.
No. That is impressive. What's his biggest movie after the Wreck-It Ralphs? He's in Sing, Guardians of the Galaxy, Kong Skull Island, The Perfect Storm, and Anger Management. Those are all huge movies as well.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Bankable guy.
He must be nice to work with. Everyone wants to.
He seems to be nice to work with based on my dealings with him. In situations where he was not getting paid to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else to say about this film? Alexandre Desplat composed the music that is only used for 1 minute at the start and 1 minute at the end. It's just violins going. But hey, I remember it.
Is there no other music in this apart from that?
No.
Interesting.
I don't think it's not that. It's too present for that, you know.
Yeah.
There was an Irish production of it where Maura Tierney came over and was in it with Ardal O'Hanlon and Owen Rowe, which sounds kind of fun. Pity we missed that. I feel like I had other fun facts about this, but now I can't remember. Well, let's do a quick chat about the poster. Do you want to look at it here? I really like this poster.
Yes.
You see it? It's four rows of 3 facial expressions from each of the actors. Just each of them looking happy, each of them looking concerned, and each of them looking furious. And I think that it's a really fun poster. I like it.
I think it's an excessively fun poster for the film that it is.
Yeah, but it's good false advertising.
It's fun, and it's very art French. You hang on your apartment wall in New York, like
exactly. It's very French. Yeah, it's very Warhol inspired.
Yeah.
The billing is Foster, Winslet, Waltz, and Reilly. Not alphabetical. That is obviously something that was negotiated. I would argue that is a Jodie Foster 2 Oscars, Winslet 1 Oscar, Waltz 1 Oscar, and Reilly nomination. I don't know how. That's the only order in which that kind of makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
there's really no other way to dictate it, unless they were like, who speaks first or something.
But then would there not be fighting? I don't think anyone's agent would be happy with that either.
Interesting that the two women get billed above the two men. You know?
Not really.
Sure. I guess
They're bigger stars.
Sure. I guess in a movie of two men and two women, you'd struggle to find another case where that's the case.
I guess so, yeah.
Like, closer is Roberts, Law, Portman, Owen, you know? It's unusual that
not that far off.
two women come first.
Yeah.
It's not that far off, no.
You're correct.
I think a couple of years later, Portman would have been billed above Jude Law on that, because she is an Oscar winner and he is not.
And if this was made 5 years later, would Waltz have jumped?
Yeah.
Winslet?
I think if this was made 2 years later, I think Waltz would have jumped Winslet. If we're going off of that logic, I mean, Waltz could probably have jumped Foster.
Yeah.
If he really wanted to, although she would have won out alphabetically if it was between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
See, people who don't listen to the podcast probably think this is all we ever do. Is this conversation?
Well, I kind of thought
were they alphabetically on top of each other? Or were they? I mean, this is.
I thought this was the intention of the podcast.
It was, and then I realized that this isn't interesting for people to listen.
You can only get 5 minutes out of this.
You can only get
unless you get some fun facts.
Will we do the credits game? Credits game.
Do you think everyone got paid equally for this?
Not necessarily.
No, surely John C's not getting the same.
I think maybe not. I think maybe this was more of a $4 million for Jodie. $4 million for Kate. 3.5 for Christoph. 3 for John.
Yeah.
You know. So let's have a look here at the credits game. Sorry, before we do the credits game, I would like to say Jodie Foster is, of course, the star of Flight Plan.
Yes.
We were never going to talk about Jodie Foster again on this podcast.
I guess not.
So we should probably talk about Flight Plan very quickly.
Yeah.
So Flight Plan is a film so scary that Shane and I have bonded over it for years.
We've never watched it together.
We've never watched it, although we did put on that one scene when we were in Berlin. Because
Yeah.
we went to Berlin together, and there's a scene in Flight Plan where her and her daughter are in a hotel in Berlin, or in a rented house, and there's these scary men looking at them through the window. And it fucked us up both. It fucked us both up when we caught it on TV as children so much that when we went to Berlin, we became obsessed with this happening to us when we were there.
I watched this, I think, when I was 9.
Yeah, I watched it when I was like 10 or 11.
Yeah,
not appropriate at all.
And at the time, I was aware, this is a 12s movie. I'm only 9 watching this.
Yeah.
It scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, it's a scary film.
It's terrifying.
It's a really scary film. I don't like it at all. But anyway, Joe, that's the most interesting.
That's
Jodie
our
Foster.
favorite Jodie Foster.
Yeah, that's
film.
the only Jodie Foster film I have an opinion on. Right, there's a movie here I feel like we might have done on the credits game before, but it would be really no. I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna pick one. So, guys, this is the game where I'm gonna read out the cast list of a movie from bottom to top for Shane off of Letterboxd, starring one of the actors from this Boy Party movie, and he's gonna have to guess what the movie is as fast as he can. I'm being really slow here picking a movie, but I'm gonna do it now. Okay, so do you want the year?
Yep.
2002. So this is a short cast list. Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't.
The last name on this cast list.
Sure, this isn't Christoph Waltz. So
Nicole Kidman.
Nicole Kidman.
Ty Copeman. Ken Turner. Victor Thrash. Paul Simon. Not the Paul Simon.
Can I pause you for a second?
Yep.
Does Nicole Kidman play herself?
No.
Okay, that's fine.
No, Nicole Kidman being in this is a funny one.
Okay.
Mel Rodriguez. Andrew Kevin Walker. Now, Andrew Kevin Walker is most famous as a screenwriter. However, he's not the screenwriter of this film.
Mm-hmm.
If you knew what he was a screenwriter of, that would give you a clue, though.
Okay.
Ian Buchanan, Anne Magnuson, Patrick Bouchow, Jared Leto, Dwight Yoakam, and now there's 3 names left.
Okay, only 3 names.
Yep. I'd give you more names, though. You're not getting anywhere with Jared Leto and Dwight Yoakam and Nicole Kidman.
No.
Nicole Kidman, 16th build or whatever she is.
Interesting. Okay, so it's either... I'll
keep going?
Yeah, give me one more.
Forrest Whitaker.
Okay. I'm okay. Will we move to some other hints that aren't actor related?
We can.
Give me a genre.
Thriller.
Thriller.
Spooky, scary.
Spooky, scary. Have I seen it?
Maybe. I've seen it.
You've seen it.
It's a director I've seen every film by.
Oh, okay.
You've seen probably...
So they've been covered on Blank Check.
Correct. You've probably seen 3/4 of this director's films. Or half, at least. For sure. Like, I know you have. 2/3.
Mm-hmm. So they haven't made many.
They've made in the range of 10 to 12.
10 to 12. I've seen probably 6 or 7.
I'd say you've seen about 7, yeah. Andrew Kevin Walker, who's in this film apparently, is the screenwriter of this director's most famous films.
Okay, so the director doesn't write them himself.
No. Never. Almost never.
Who have I seen? 7.
Thriller from 2002.
Thriller.
I'm going to give you one more name.
Go on.
Kristen Stewart.
She play a kid in this?
She does.
Oh. Is it a Shyamalan thing?
No.
No?
Will I tell you?
I think I know what you're talking about. I'm aware of Kristen Stewart playing.
Will I tell you the star?
Yeah.
Jodie Foster.
Jodie Foster.
You got 5 seconds or I'm going to tell you. 3, 2.
The
movie is David Fincher's Panic Room.
Oh, Panic Room.
Nicole Kidman was supposed to play the main character, but she, I don't know, broke her leg, I think.
Yeah.
Dropped out. There's still some footage of her in the movie that they used from behind.
Okay.
And she does a voice cameo over the phone. That's why she's so far down the list, because it's a cameo. Panic Room.
Yeah, Panic Room.
Forrest Whitaker and Jared Leto play the scary robbers.
They do. They do. Very scary movie. That's a real flight plan of a...
Not as scary as Flight Plan, though.
I think I was equally...
See, I didn't watch it till much later. I watched it when I was like 16.
No, this is one of these that popped up on...
RT, yeah.
RT.
Oh, I saw the ad and thought it was scary.
Yeah.
But then I didn't actually watch it till I was much older.
Like
I think the concept of Panic Room is really scary as a child.
Oh, the scary boys are really scary.
Yeah. They're in a house, they're locked in a room, and there's scary boys outside. Like,
yeah.
Very scary. But the film in practice is just a bit silly. Forrest Whitaker is not scary. The other guy.
Oh, he's one of the bad guys.
Yeah, he's not that scary. But he's like the nice.
No, I think because the film starts off like as I remember, I think Kristen Stewart is like at a petrol station and the boys see her and they like follow them to the house and then like...
I don't know. No.
They think
the house is empty. They need to get something out of the panic room.
Oh.
You see, the premise is that there's the
I think I mix this up with another film that Bruce Willis is in.
Is
Bruce Willis in a film where he's like negotiating with hostages in a
several there's a movie called Hostages.
I think it might be Hostages.
Yeah, I think you've seen that. Panic Room. The idea is that the thing they need to rob is inside the panic room.
Okay,
so they can't just rob the house while Jodie Foster's in the panic room. They have to get into the panic room.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Panic
Box office, please. Box office, please.
I've got it set up already, so you better get guessing.
So buddy. This movie's US release was on the
December 16th,
2011. Okay.
Very, very fun Christmas movie to go to with your family.
I would 100% go see this at Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely. Great.
All right.
I might put this on for my parents next Christmas.
They might like it.
I think they'd like it.
Yeah. Okay.
Did we mention the fact that one of their kids got their teeth knocked out and that's why the whole film started? I don't think we did.
We mentioned the stick thing.
Did we?
Not the teeth thing.
Yeah, anyway, that was it.
Okay.
Anyone wondering? First up.
Yeah. December 2011. I'm going to guess Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows.
Correct.
Yes.
In its first week. Three new films at the top of
I'm good on this week. I'm good on this month. Yeah, okay.
Sure.
Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows. Not a good film.
No.
The first one's good. That one sucks. Fucking boring casting. Like, Jared Harris is Moriarty and Stephen Fry is...
you don't need to explain any further.
Is the brother.
Yeah.
Aberforth or whatever his name is. Anyway. Okay. Number 2, Alvin and the Chipmunks, the squeakquel.
Talk about interesting casting.
Oh, what's the interesting casting in that?
David Cross
as Ian. What's his name? Ian Hawke.
Ian Hawke.
I like the squeakquel. I think the squeakquel's fun. It is weird.
This is Chipwrecked.
Oh, sorry. This is Chipwrecked.
This is Chipwrecked.
Oh, Chipwrecked's not good at all. Yeah, that's the one David Cross had to like be threatened with legal action to be in. He's
really?
dressed up as a bird for most of it.
Yeah, and he stands in front of the worst CGI volcano I think ever.
There's a scene with a big spider in that, so I've only seen it the once. But never the whole way through. I avoided it. Like, I loved Chipmunks in 2011, and I wouldn't go see it because I heard there was a spider.
Yeah.
So that's my relationship with that film.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Next up,
so there's another new one. Right. Is it a Steven Spielberg film?
No.
Right, okay.
This is by far the best of the first 3 films.
The best of the first
3
films.
This could be argued to be the film of the year 2011.
So this is Hugo. No.
No.
Something you like. Moneyball. Oh, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. What? That came out this week, but it wasn't number 1. It opened number 3.
Yeah.
I think they did like a limited IMAX release, and then they put it in more
That makes sense.
Something
they
weird happened
did
there.
not release Mission Impossible at Christmas.
No, they did.
Oh, they did?
It was a Christmas release, but there's no way that was the opening weekend in every cinema. I think that how many?
Yeah,
screens
sorry,
is that?
425.
There you go.
Yeah.
They put it in IMAX screens only with the preview of The Dark Knight Rises before it, the plain Bane, Aidan Gillen scene, and then they rolled it out in every cinema the week after or 2 weeks after.
Yeah, okay, like this made
Ghost Protocol was a huge hit.
This made more than half of what Chipwrecked made I'd say about
way less screens.
1/8 of the screens.
I think once that went wide a week or two later, it went massive because that was a much bigger hit than Sherlock Holmes.
It did 30,000 per theater. The
There
other
you
films
go.
on this list are doing between 6 and 10.
There you go. Yeah.
So
Ghost Protocol, a fantastic film.
Yep,
We love it. I like the fuse. Yeah. What's next?
like the fuse. This is a specific day in the year.
This movie is New Year's Eve.
Yep.
Which I watched this year on a day that was not New Year's Eve. Well, we threw it on after Valentine's Day, so I watched a bit of it on Valentine's Day.
Oh yes,
Remember, you were here, and it was
Wasn't that again?
uh
Bradley Cooper?
no, he's at Valentine's Day.
He's in Valentine's
New
Day.
Year's Eve is like, I don't know, De Niro, Hilary Swank,
Okay, yeah.
Pfeiffer, Efron. There's like a thing with Seth Meyers and his wife in a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Fine, I like those films. Those Gary Marshall one day of the year movies are fun. Mother's Day is terrible, but the other ones are decent.
Mm-hmm. Next up,
Yeah,
something that is very bad.
something that is very bad.
Yeah.
Is it animated?
No. Okay, I have a memory
Interesting.
of this being very bad. This might be something you'd rewatch and be like, okay, there's a few good gags in it.
I'm
It's
gonna
a
give you
comedy.
clue. It's a comedy.
It's a comedy.
Is there a big star?
A budding big star
Budding big star.
who's probably not going to be a big star anymore.
Is it Jonah Hill at the sitter?
It's Jonah Hill, the sitter.
We've talked about that sitter a few times.
I think we have.
Yeah. Let's not.
We
dwell on it.
had
Move
a lot
on.
of Adam and Ben stuff in 2011,
we did.
as you will see
Huge
when we
year
get to
for
the
it.
when we get
Yeah,
a
of
little bit
course.
further down this
Of
list.
course.
Next up, big franchise of the year.
Big franchise of the year was it the Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 1?
Indeed.
It's an okay film. It's fine.
Next up,
It's a lot of sex and Brazilian Amazonian swimming.
sure.
So you haven't seen any of those.
Nope.
You if you watch that one out of context, you would find it bizarre.
I might just watch that.
The whole movie is just them on their honeymoon, and then halfway through she gets pregnant, and then the rest of the movie is just her in a house pregnant, and then it ends. And it was like one of the blockbuster hits of 2011.
Yeah.
It's an inexplicable film in isolation.
Probably, yeah. I think it's going to be a good bit that I'll only watch that Twilight film.
Sure.
I've only seen The Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
I'm just going to watch one random one of each
Yeah,
franchise.
yeah.
All right, next up.
Yeah.
Just you mentioned a couple of minutes ago, one of the best films of the year.
Hugo.
Something I really need to watch.
It's out in the Lighthouse in August, so we're gonna get that.
I will go to see that.
I don't know why it's on in August. It's a fucking Christmas movie, but anyway.
Whatever. I'm just going to rattle through the next few because there's some interesting ones. We got Arthur Christmas,
Yeah.
The Muppets,
Great. Watched it recently.
a blank number at number 10 for some reason,
I don't know. Who
Nope.
knows? A movie that was deleted.
The Descendants,
A great film. Yeah.
the Sandler of the year,
Jack and Jill.
the George Miller of the year,
Happy Feet 2.
and the Stiller of the year.
The Tower Heist.
Tower Heist.
Is In Time in there anywhere?
In Time.
No.
Yep.
Yeah.
At number 24.
A lot of stuff we're into in here.
Yeah, shame.
Yeah, I have Moneyball should be in there somewhere as well.
Tinker Tailor is there.
Moneyball.
Polar Express is there.
That just gets re-released.
Re-released, yeah. Margin Call.
Moneyball would have come out in probably September in the US.
Carnage at number 33.
Wow.
Opened in
About like 12 screens.
5.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, that 2011 is a really good year. You also have Contagion that year. It's the best film of the year in my opinion. Lots of good
Carnage
stuff.
made 15,000 per screen, which is probably the third film on the list, third highest on the list.
I think 2011 is one of the best years of the century for film.
Really?
Underrated year. I just think the top 5 is like really strong.
Yeah.
Like your Contagion, your Moneyball, your Ghost Protocol, Hugo.
Yeah,
Those are
Moneyball is
fantastic.
clocking in there at 35
those
at
are
this stage.
fantastic
So
movies. Good year. All right. That's it. Thank you for tuning into our Carnage episode, our 25th episode. Who would have thought we would have gotten this far?
We should If we had the technical capability, we should have 2 guests on and have 4 people on our podcast and
Just argue.
yeah.
Yeah, we could do that. We will be back next week. You can also listen to our bonus episode, the After Party Marvel ranking with Brendan, if you're excited to hear some audio issues.
Or if you're excited to not listen to me for a while.
Yeah, exactly. No Shane on that episode. Just an hour and a half of me and Brendan shouting back and forth.
I listened to it. I enjoyed it.
You did? Very good. You listen to that on the feed. BoyPartyPod.com for all the episodes. You can follow the show on BoyPartyPod on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks to the guy who composed our theme music. Thanks to me for all the other stuff. We'll see you next time. Get home safe. Bye.